So you're thinking about either buying or selling in the Sacramento real estate market. It's the end of July. What are we looking at right now? Is it going to be a huge big rush in July, or is it going to be a little slower? We're going to talk a little bit about this right now. So if you are a buyer or you are a seller, this is the video you need to watch. Let's get started. Okay, as always, I'm here with Aaron, man. Aaron, how are you doing? How's your 4th of July?
It was hot, real hot, but it was a lot of fun, man. Hope you had a good time as well.
It was fun. It was like had family over. We started the 3rd, we went the 4th, and it was crazy. It was fun. It was a good time and everything too. So today we're talking about towards this time of like 4th of July, you know, that last thing, there's usually a large surge that happens, right? Kind of the 4th of July around there, it slows down a little bit. And then like afterwards, you're either seeing people go on their last vacations or you're seeing people just say, you know what, let's do it. We got to do it before school starts and let's go. So Aaron, what do you think? Which side of the coin do you think we're going to see right now? Because this summer has been slower than most.
Yeah, I unfortunately, I think, well, I say unfortunately for, you know, people that are in our line of work, I think that it's going to be a slower end of the summer buying season. You know, interest rates, unfortunately, have, you know, stayed, you know, higher than what most people would like to see or what people feel are affordable. Inventory is still anemic. And like you mentioned, the clock's running out. And what I mean by that is for most people, their timing of when they want to sell their house or buy their next house, a lot of it revolves around the school year. So, you know, basically we've got, you know, roughly 30 to 45 days or so before the kids are going back to school. And that's going to really change the landscape in terms of potential buyers and sellers. And then we're going to, you know, be right into the holiday season where, you know, activity really, you know, slows down significantly as people focus on other things besides buying real estate. And so I think that a lot of buyers were, you know, holding out and hoping that the interest rates were going to come down sooner than they have. And, you know, that's just not what the market's done. And so I do think that a lot of people are on the sidelines. What are you seeing on your side of the fence?
Well, for sure the heat hasn't helped. And so for me, at least, how I look at it is for the most part is like, the heat is kind of brutal right now, too. We're going to be hitting 104 degrees right now. I would say summer in general has been slower than most. I mean, it's still been active. There's some people buying. A lot of people are on the fence. A lot of people are waiting for that one thing to trigger them to say, hey, I'm off the fence. Let's make it happen. Yep. I'm seeing a lot of people who are super picky, like I am, about what they're buying as well, too. A lot of people, you know, because there's kind of two trains of thinking. One is, hey, look, get what you can, jump into this market and just grab it before, so you're not paying rent and everything too. But I think the other area or the other train of thought that I see a lot of people doing right now is saying like, I'm not going to be paying a 7% interest rate for something I'm not in love with. I'd rather wait. How worse can it possibly get? And so those are the type of people I'm seeing out there too. I think new homes are still popular, but I think even new homes are slowing down. We're seeing people still into new homes. New homes are still super popular, but it's not as crazy as I thought this summer would be for new homes. I was thinking to myself, you know, people are going to be pushing the new home area because resale inventory is still low, interest rates are high, and builders can give people like, you know, 5%, 6% interest rates, and that would be attractive. But I think a lot of people in the new home even area, it's slower. I'm seeing a lot of emails being sent to me saying, hey, look, bring your people by. We increased commissions. We did this. And that's always a bad sign for people looking to buy. For builders. Builders, when they start doing that and when they start increasing more of like the money that they're giving to realtors, or they're increasing incentives and everything too, it's just crazy. I had actually a couple. Now, this is an interesting one. I had a couple that flew in from Salt Lake City. They already had pulled the trigger on a Toll Brothers home at Preserve, right? And their home was going to be maybe something like 1.6 out the door with everything too. And so they flew in and they saw the models that they had actually pulled the trigger on maybe about a month ago. And all of a sudden they had like 4, like ready, done, all that stuff too, out the door, like 1.4, 1.5. And so they're like, what gives here, man? You know, like we're paying easily $100,000 more. So they actually went in there, and because there was standing inventory somewhat, stuff that would be ready in December, they were actually actually able to swing it into one of those where they saved a lot of money. And normally the builders are like, no, you cannot do it. But now we're seeing even the builders start adding kind of more concessions, kind of be a little bit more flexible. And I don't know, 4th of July, usually is a dead weekend, but with this heat that's still kind of going past 4th of July, it's miserable out there. Like, I love my pool, but my pool feels like a can of Campbell soup. It is just not fun out there, man. I even turned the solar off and it's still like 90. So it's like, it's just not pleasant weather to be out. I think a lot of people also might be just reevaluating their situation. And I think the idea and the thing that people are thinking is like, how bad could it possibly get? We're right now in horrible inventory. Interest rates are high. So what do you think about that mentality? Like, can it get worse?
That things can always get worse. And there's kind of like, you were talking about a couple segments of the market and everything. And I feel like you've got the people that don't own a home yet. They've got a completely different mentality than the people that own a home. And they would normally be a move-up buyer, which also when you're a move-up buyer, you're typically selling your existing home, which creates inventory for first-time buyers or maybe move-up buyers that aren't, at that price point or whatever. And so we're basically seeing like zero move-up buyers for the most part. I mean, and it all just comes down to finance. I mean, unless you're just swimming in money, you won the lotto and you just don't care. Most people, they can't, whether they can afford it or not, they can't mentally justify, all right, well, I own a house right now and I pay $2,500 a month for my mortgage. I got a 2% rate, yada, yada, yada. Versus, hey, I'm going to sell that house and exchange my 2% rate, my $2,500 payment, to buy something that, is going to cost me twice as much or 3 times as much and might not be that big of an upgrade, right? Like there's, so it's like justifying the additional expense for what you're getting out of it. That's causing a lot of people that would normally be buyers and sellers to just not even participate. And then I am reading a lot more and hearing a lot more about people that are basically like, choosing to rent longer. And they're like, screw it. At these prices, at these interest rates, whatever, I'm just never going to be a homeowner, or home ownership is just not in the cards for me right now. And I can definitely see a lot of reasons why that would make sense. The one thing though, and like I was listening to Pat Bet David's podcast the other day, and he was talking about this topic specifically about people saying, hey, I'm not going to buy, I'm just going to rent. I'd be better off, just, living my life or taking the extra money that I'd be spending on a mortgage and save it or whatever. But the one thing that a lot of people are not factoring in is that home prices are still going up. Everybody thinks that prices should come down because rates are up, but that's not the way that it's working. And it hasn't worked that way, ever since rates started going up. In fact, prices just continue to rise. And it just comes down to there's way too many people and not enough houses. Even if rates were 2% or whatever, our inventory is going to be terrible no matter what. So there's a lot of different, opinions out there, but all in all, collectively, I feel like that's what's, really kind of making it a slow summer for, what would normally be the peak of the market, and then you add in what you're talking about and it's hot as hell outside. And, that doesn't help out for, people that are thinking about, who wants to go tour houses when it's 110 degrees, right?
Oh, 100%. Well, the other thing too, okay, so the other thing, and I wanted to throw this out there as well, I'm seeing more contingent buyers, right? People who are sitting on their 2.75s and saying like, we found a house. If we can sell our house for this amount, if all the dominoes fall where they fall, we're okay moving. But like, if not, we're keeping our house. I mean, I've seen a bunch of these, right? Gold River, I jumped into the situation with some buyers. And yesterday I was in Elk Grove selling this amazing house. And the realtor was like, we're actually in a deal right now. It's contingent. If we sell this house for this price, we can make it happen. If not, we're not. So I think the sellers are kind of like what we were just talking about. They're like, I'm in a 2.75. I saw something I absolutely love. I need to sell
Mm-hmm.
my house for this amount. If it's not going to happen, then I'm not going to go. So I think contingent buyers, it's more kind of like something you're seeing more and more. I mean, the funniest part about our market lately is that there's always, and I was joking with this realtor, I was like, there's always something, like maybe 3 years ago, there was like some like, hey, look, we're putting in an offer. There's no other offers in. You get the home, you walk away. There's always something. There's a rent back, quick close,
Mm-hmm.
like this and that. There's always something right now in this market, and it just is one of those things that like you have to kind of be aware that if you see a house that you love, if you're saying, you know what, I really love it, we're going to put an offer on this house. I'm saying that this right now is a market where there's always something. There's always a catch. There's always
Yeah.
like a rent back. There's always, they want this, they want that. I mean, like I've seen actually clients like that we've submitted offers to counter back, with like ridiculous demands. And it's like, whoa, okay, didn't see that coming. And we're the only offer on the table. So I think it's an interesting market. As far as you guys go, though, on the lending side of stuff, are you seeing it kind of that way? As far as like, there's like always those catch 20. It just seems like everything's a catch 22, right? Or
I do feel like, with the first time home buyers, because they don't already have a house, so they're in a situation where if you own the home already and you're not uncomfortable, especially if you've got like really attractive financing and you like your house or whatever, then you're like, I don't have to leave. I don't even really I don't want to necessarily leave, but I would like to, upgrade or whatever. So if all the stars align and everything's perfect, then yeah, I'll accept your offer. And so the first time buyers are like kind of having to battle with that a bit with potential sellers who, aren't necessarily realistic about, what their needs are. But then I have seen a ton of, what I'm seeing a lot of actually, which is surprising in some ways, and then it's not in others, is I'm seeing a lot of people that basically they moved in the last couple of years and they're having to move again. Not because they're upgrading, not because they're getting a better deal somewhere, but guess what? Their employer who said that they could be remote or hybrid or whatever, they're not doing that anymore. And so they've got to relocate basically back to, wherever their company is based out of. So I'm seeing a lot of those transactions taking place, and those are the ones where like you're looking at the listing and you see this price where you're like, that seems kind of high, and you're looking through the photos and the property's vacant. You start kind of like doing your investigating on it, and you figure out that oh, the seller just bought that. Why is this? What's wrong with this house? Why is the seller moving? Why would they give up the rate that they got or whatever the case? And it's a lot of is what I found at least been work related. So it's definitely things are constantly changing. But I would say that like to all the buyers or potential buyers out there watching this, the market of in terms of you as a buyer having to like give up your firstborn child and really the win for you was like you just got your offer accepted. I feel like for the most part that market doesn't exist right now. There are some like niche neighborhoods throughout the valley where like it's very, very high demand, very few properties. And when homes go for sale in those markets, you got to be the highest and best. But I am also, we're working with people that are doing this, right now where they're getting in a contract to buy a house and it's contingent upon the sale of their existing house. And, shoot, we just closed one like a week and a half ago where it was a chain of 4 people where it was like, this buyer is contingent upon this seller selling and that seller is contingent upon this one and so on and so on. We were at the end of the chain, of course. So like if we didn't get it done, we'd screw it up for everybody. But we got it done, obviously. But that's, I feel like, becoming a lot more common right now because most sellers or potential buyers are in that same spot where it's like they got to they got to sell their place to be able to buy their next place. And it's just like trying to get everybody in alignment, in order to make a deal work. So there's definitely a never ending change of, market conditions and what works and what doesn't work. that's part of why you guys should keep watching this show, is that we keep you up to date on all the things that are constantly changing.
I love it. Shameless plug. Okay, so it's something I'm seeing also too, and this is a crazy one too. I've gotten at least 3 calls from people that haven't worked with us, but actually purchased new homes, and all of a sudden they're like freaking out. They're like, the realtor we worked with said that we're getting an amazing deal, lower interest rate and everything too, but like, now they're freaking out that they feel like they're kind of like, a new home was all pretty. It's their first home. They got a lower interest rate than most. And a lot of people are kind of like, I'm seeing a lot of homes that have been like built maybe like 2000 and maybe 20 and above being, for sale. I mean, you're going to yourself, why are these things selling? Why you shouldn't, this is like a new home. But a lot of people I feel like are a little underwater as far as, I think people fell in line to that whole new home. Like, oh, it's so pretty, I'm getting a great rate. And then all of a sudden a mortgage payment is a mortgage payment. So I'm seeing people get a little bit nervous as well about this. I think the economy, recession, politics, and we don't really go into that as this channel, thank God. But like, I think that people are very kind of nervous right now. And I think job situation, like you mentioned as well. So I think people are definitely like on the fence right now as far as what they're going to do. And I get it, and this heat doesn't add to this heat. I mean, like, let's go to the coast, let's move, let's go. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about, like, I want to get your opinions, like, as far as sellers, what do you think the sellers are going to be doing towards the end of July? Because for me, straight up, once August hits, it's going to slow down completely because school starts. A lot of people, the Bay Area traffic, people moving in the area, it's just going to slow down. And normally, if you look at graphs, curves, or whatever, that's kind of what happens in the real estate market. But as far as the end of July, what are you thinking as far as sellers, Aaron?
I think any sellers that actually are serious about selling their house, and what I mean by that is, like, the people I was just talking about who, they got their really low rate, they like their place. Yeah, sure, they'd like to move and upgrade, but, it's not like, it's going to ruin their life if the deal doesn't work out. Those aren't going to be the sellers that end up, selling if their home hasn't already gotten into contract. The people that, like, as we get towards the end of July, what I think you'll see is the serious sellers, they're going to do price reductions. Or be much more willing to accept an offer from a buyer with, seller credits for temporary rate buy downs or other things that they may not be as willing to do so because, again, a normal escrow takes around 30 days. We usually, it's like 3 weeks, on average in Sacramento, but, call it 30 days, right? So you get to the end of August or the end of July, if you're not in escrow to sell your house by that point, then pretty much any potential buyer, they're going to be moving during, the beginning of the school year, which I get not everybody has kids. All the dinks watching right now are like, dude, who cares about kids? But the majority of buyers, they're going to have, and sellers, they're going to have kids. That's just statistically how it works out. And so that drives a lot of the activity for the market. And so, when September, comes around, most people don't want to be in the middle of moving. They've already, they don't want to disrupt their, children's school, all that stuff going on. So I think, it's, what is it? It's July 8th. So, we got about maybe 3 more weeks, and the serious sellers, the people that have to move their property, they're going to need to make some price reductions and get more aggressive. Otherwise, we'll probably see those listings die out over the holidays.
Well, the crazy part is, about 3 weeks ago, I was telling people, I'm like, we're going to probably see some reductions. We're going to see some reductions. And we already started seeing reductions right now. Like, if you look on the market, you're seeing a lot of reduction. There's some weird stuff happening in the market too that I've noticed. One is, and this is a weird one, right? In El Dorado Hills, you're seeing a lot of inventory stack up in El Dorado Hills right now too. Now, the weirdest thing, and Ashlyn from my team pointed this out, she's like, I don't know if this correlates or not, but like a lot of the people who are selling their homes are offering 2% commissions. Sacramento County, 2.5 is usually the standard. Now, I'm not going into commissions. That's not what this video is about. But she was like, it's really interesting that a lot of the stuff that's piling up in El Dorado Hills right now are 2%ers. Where in Sacramento County, 2.5 in areas like East Sacramento, Land Park, and things are still kind of moving. So I do think that in areas, areas like El Dorado Hills, you're dealing with some stuff, right? You're Shingle Springs, like Cameron Park, you're dealing with fire insurance, homeowners insurance. Like, is there going to be a big fire? Are we going to have to get on the California Fair Plan? But also, as far as these little anomalies that we're seeing right now, or these little shifts for commission as well too. So it's kind of interesting if you look at it. Now, I'm not saying this out there just like to throw it out there. I'm just saying that if you look on like Redfin, and you're still seeing the commission, it's an interesting thing. In El Dorado Hills, a lot of the stuff that's sitting has 2% buyer commission. So it's going to be an interesting market for sellers. I think we're going to see a little bit more reductions towards the end of July. If you're thinking, and here's the thing, for all you sellers, listen to this. If you are thinking about selling and you're serious, you got July. August, it slows down, and then it's going to be a very, very cold winter because we got the election coming up and everything too. Unless, of course, interest rates drop. But for the most part, I don't see that happening. So if you're a serious seller and you're saying, man, our house isn't moving, what's going on? We're going to keep our price and everything too. I'm not saying you should 100%, but I'm saying like if you really want to bring like buyers to the table, you got to market like crazy and you got to have aggressive pricing. And if you don't, you're going to be sitting end of July, you're going to be sitting there going like, I should have reduced if I was serious about selling. So that's what I'll give for the sellers. Now, as far as buyers, what are you thinking, Aaron?
As far as buyers, they're going to have more opportunity, I think. So for, the serious buyer who's been like, everybody's looking for a deal, but, for all you deal hawks out there, this is going to be, the final innings where you're going to be able to potentially, get that seller credit that you want, or, get that lower offer price accepted, or, whatever your goals are. But your odds of making something happen now, or, during this time of the summer versus what's going to be available, in the fall or the winter months, I think there's going to be a big difference in opportunity. Obviously, if you're buying a house in December, right before Christmas, you're going to be in a much better power play with the seller because there's not going to be as many buyers. But remember, most sellers are going to pull their homes off the market during the holidays. They're going to, a lot of people, what they'll do is their agent is going to be like, you know what, we missed our opportunity with the end of the summer. Let's go ahead and get your house prepped. That, a lot of people didn't like the green carpet from the 90s. Let's go ahead and, throw in some new floors or whatever, make a couple of little tweaks. And then as soon as spring starts, as soon as March or April kicks off, we're going to list your property full price right at the beginning of the buying season, blah, blah, blah. So, as far as like the available inventory, the number of potential homes that'll be available, now is the peak of that. And usually when there's, when it's that situation as a buyer, you don't have, you don't have as much leverage. But as we get closer and closer to Labor Day weekend and closer to school starting, the holidays, all that stuff, your leverage as a buyer increases. But remember that your opportunity of available homes out there is going to decrease. So you're kind of like in this like Goldilocks period, in my opinion, for the next, maybe 30 to 60 days ish.
All right, I like it. Okay, here's what I'll tell buyers right now. First of all, as we always say on this channel, time your life. Do not time the market. You will lose if you do that normally. Some people win. Hey, don't kill the messenger. But I would say for you guys this is what I would say. Keep in tune with what is on the market right now. Where you're going to really win in this market, especially if you're someone who's saying, I'm going to Disneyland, I'm going to look in August when it slows down a little bit. Look at the houses that are on the market now that interest you, but all of a sudden disappeared, right? They vanished without a sound. They didn't get sold. Those are the ones that maybe if you reach out to your realtor and say, hey, look, I saw this one address about a month ago. It's gone. That house could still be for sale. That house could still be waiting for that buyer. So just keep note of the stuff that's kind of disappearing and kind of like off the market. That's where I say you're going to really, really win. You're going to see like 1, 2, 3 Elm Street. Oh, I really love that house. I love it. I wish the price would drop a little bit. Then I would probably jump right into it. And then all of a sudden, end of July, boom, it's gone. It didn't sell. It's just is off the market. Those are the houses I think that if you're really looking to win, those are the ones you make an offer you can't refuse. So that the seller's still toying with the idea of selling. They're probably going to throw it on the market maybe in a couple months. Give them an offer, throw it in. I think you could definitely take advantage of the market in that way. But then again, guys, like I say, time your life, don't time the market. If this isn't the right time for you to buy, I wouldn't. But I do think there are advantages in any kind of like market, right? You just got to know which one, what the advantages are and work with a team, lender, realtor that know what they're talking about. And we'll even come in the weekend after 4th of July weekend and give you a little bit of an update of what's going on in July. All right, Aaron, any parting words?
Yeah, just make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next week.
Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, summertime is going to be an interesting one. End of July, not sure if it's going to peak, not sure if it's going to slow down, but hopefully this video helped you out if you're looking to move into the Sacramento area. Now, guys, I have more videos for you, one over here, and don't forget to subscribe. And if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, comment, and all that kind of fun stuff. Until next video, guys, this is Mark. Have a good one.